Hello, is there anyone? Is the only one? Oh, hello. Hi, Maria. How are you?
I'm really great.
Oh, I think I can hear you in some funny way. Say something else.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay,
Are
nice.
we alone?
Sure.
Okay.
So the holidays are over. No lights.
I think that everybody is still celebrating Valentine's Day.
Okay, where are your little hearts
I'm
around you?
sorry, I haven't done it.
Me neither. Don't have anything. So, how are you doing? Looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, but Saturday is going to be working day.
Oh, no. That's the thing. Hello, Marina.
Hi.
Hi. How are you? You are very black.
Yeah, I am today. I'm woman in black.
Mhm. Is it the same Marina that sent me some message yesterday?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, exactly.
right. Tatiana, hello. Hi. I think we don't hear you.
What about now? Hello?
Oh, yes.
Better? Okay. How are you?
We're all doing great. Looking forward to the weekend. How about you?
So it was okay, yes. It was quite well.
Okay, Victoria, hello. Victoria, are you with us? Writing a reminder. Who are the other ones? No, Victoria. Are you with us? Victoria? Well, maybe like no, it seems to be unmuted. But does anyone hear Victoria?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Great.
now we
Yeah,
can.
hello. Sorry.
Okay, right. It's everyone. I've always thought that writing is something that could be interesting for teachers. Sometimes it's hard to come up with ideas how to make them write when they hate it. How to make them hate it less. It's okay, we'll see. So, who else is joining us? Odessa. Hello, Odessa. Hello. Okay, maybe no microphone this time. Okay, while we are waiting, maybe for another 2 minutes, do you have any really good stories about writing? Do you have any great activities that your students like? I know that I asked this question in the poll, but most of the people mentioned it without any explanation. Like, how exactly do you go about making them write an essay or some book review or an email? How exactly does this activity become successful? If you have something like this, please write in the chat. I think we would all like to know some positive experience with writing. Okay, yes,
Okay, so should I share my experience?
sure, why not?
Okay, so I have one student, and once she recommended me to watch a film called That Sugar. It's kind of documentary, and uh, when I finished watching it, I decided to write her some kind of letter, like in words, yeah, and I used some pictures, and I wrote her letter about this film and like about sugar, what, how does this film influence on her life, and so on. And I think it can be useful because I'm sure that she's interested in this topic, and maybe it will help us to improve writing skills.
So, but you're not sure yet.
Yeah, because it happened not many lessons ago, and now she's a little bit busy. So yeah, I'm still waiting.
Okay, so I guess we can begin. If you have more stories, please share in the chat. Hopefully it's visible to me this time. So writing skills and whether we should or shouldn't do anything with them at the lesson. Because for some people it seems that it's kind of boring to do it if you have one-to-one lessons online and the student is writing all the time. It's kind of not very productive. For some people, it's just they don't know what to write, how to write, why, and so on. And we'll see. Maybe writing is more exciting and useful than some people think. So I have some situations that prompted this discussion. One of them was how do we teach writing? Why should we even do it? Because the activities on the platform are not very interesting for the students and they just don't write. They refuse to do it. Some teachers share particular stories. For example, a student who is an accountant has to deal with different stuff in English. She has to write at work, and the teacher decided to write letters. Maybe, Maria, that was you, because the story sounds very similar. So a letter to the student, and now we're waiting for a response. Will it really help her with writing reports if she knows professional vocabulary? Okay, we'll see. So how important is writing to you? That was one of the questions. Do you work on writing at your lessons? And we can see that, well, yes, but not as much as on other skills. 55% of the participants said that, well, yeah, we do some writing, but not maybe enough. Some of the teachers do it only if the student is interested or if it corresponds to their goals. And some people said no, because students don't do it. Speaking is more important, writing seems boring to them, and so on. And as for writing as homework, 75% of our teachers who took part in the poll give these tasks just to work on grammar and vocabulary additionally. So not writing for the sake of writing, yes, as we specified before the seminar, that we'll be talking about writing as a skill, not writing as a tool, right? But still, what our students do is mostly using writing as a tool. And even if a lot of teachers give something to write, students, a quarter of them prefer to ignore such tasks, they avoid doing them. And no one said that, oh yeah, I give them writing as homework because they like it, which is a bit sad, I would say. It was too late with the poll. Well, it happens. Sorry, I need time, at least a day, to look at the results, to analyze them, to make this presentation. That's why I usually turn off the poll 24 hours before the seminar. I think it's fair. Okay, so the general picture is the following. We mostly give them writing to practice something else, and they tend to ignore it, maybe because it's not very interesting and they're not super excited about writing. So what do your students say? Hard, boring. Okay, for 50% of them, it's okay as a homework, but at the lesson they don't want to write. Still, we can see that occasionally some students like writing, some students like writing something practical. something that they need at work. Some teachers say it depends on the character, depends on the I don't know, the personality of the student. Some people are very fast and they hate to stop and think and put their words in writing. Maybe it depends, but if we think about our everyday life, do you ladies have to write anything? If you do, you can give us some examples in the chat. What do you actually write? And while we're waiting for those real life experiences, let's think about the following. Is it really so hard to write? To write, I mean, not to put some work form in the gap, but to write something like an email, a book review, some TripAdvisor review, even an essay. Is it really so intellectually challenging? Anyone, turn on your microphones. Oh, journal, reviews, great. So who would like to share? Do you think that writing is really harder than other skills? Ladies, don't be shy. Tatiana, let's start with you. We see that you have something to say.
So speaking about us as teachers, I don't think that it's really difficult. So it's just another type of an activity, but it's quite time consuming because you need to sit down for some time and type something, then check it for being sure that you don't have any mistakes there. So it can be time consuming, but not hard, I think.
Okay. Thank you. Can anyone agree or disagree with that? Add something, Ria?
I think that usually even in Russian we don't write. I mean, social networking like Facebook. Yeah, we post picture and just one sentence or maybe 2 words. And maybe some people write, like reviews or reports and so on. But as for me, sometimes I write, I mean Russian, English, but for myself, not for somebody. Yeah. And speaking about our tests, I mean that we spent 2 weeks ago, all of teachers. As for me, the writing was the most, the most. I put it, to the end of my test because I don't like writing and the topic and discussing it and so on. Maybe the same with my students.
Maybe. Or maybe we have just bad experience with writing because what were we writing when we were students ourselves? Some essays at school that were extremely boring. That leads us to the next question. Does it have to be boring? Because you don't really care about Onegin, right? Or something else that we had to write about. Mostly we just wrote something because we were forced to write, yes? And if you feel that it's not interesting, not pleasant, of course, you will have some negative associations. So does it have to be boring? Can writing be fun? Can it be exciting? Can it be something that your students can potentially like? Anyone?
May I?
Yeah, sure.
I think it can be fun in case if you find topic which strikes a chord with your student. For example, if you ask to write a review after watching his favorite film, or for example, maybe with children it can work to describe their favorite character. So if only it strikes a chord with them.
Right. So
But
it doesn't have to be boring, right?
Yeah, the majority of written tasks are not so enthralling and interesting, I should admit. And mostly I give such tasks as a means of grammar consolidating.
Right, right. Well, nothing is wrong with using writing as a tool. Well, because it works, right? If you some sentence with past continuous, you will eventually practice past continuous. Yeah, we can always come up with something that is interesting or important for your students. If they have to write emails at work and you offer them practice with emails, they won't say, "Oh no, this is something disastrous." They would mostly be interested in practicing something that they find applicable, right? And can we say that no students need writing in their real life? They need only speaking. Because several teachers mentioned that speaking is more important. I don't give them additional tasks in writing because I want to focus on speaking.
I have at least 3 students whose job is to write in English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like emails or reports and so on. And I'm sure that they do it almost every day, maybe not every, but at least 4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes even they ask me to check or to help them to understand it. So yeah, it depends on the job, but for some of them.
Right. So even if they don't have to write something at work, even if their main goal is to learn English for traveling, still they might be in a situation where they want to write something. Maybe they want to clarify something with the hotel. Yes, they don't understand something at the website and they want to ask questions and they have to write. Or they want to write a TripAdvisor review after visiting some place. That's writing. Maybe it's not as complicated as writing some formal emails, but still they might need it eventually. So I think we can come to a conclusion that writing is not that horrible and it's not that useless. We might actually spend some time practicing it.
Oh, may I ask
Sure.
something?
Yes.
Well, actually, now I've just thought of the fact that we start learning writing when we are 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So first we become fluent in our native language,
Mm-hmm.
and then we tackle writing. And with foreign language, well, usually we want it from people who are below intermediate level. Maybe it's a little bit illogical.
Maybe, but they don't have that much time. They want to be more or less functional from the very beginning. Yes, sometimes you have an elementary student who is going to some English speaking, or maybe not English speaking, but who is going abroad in 2 months, and they want, not to be lost in the middle of nowhere with no devices to interact with people, and they want to have some minimum skills, and it might happen so that writing is one of them. So, of course, they won't write some sophisticated essay, but they should be able to ask a question, to maybe respond to some email. Yeah, so we should teach some basics anyway. Right, so another question was that maybe it's hard to come up with ideas for writing when there's only one student who expects mostly speaking. So my next question was about writing as a group. Is it more suitable for groups? Would you use it more with groups? Let's look at some of the responses, and can you choose one that you would like to discuss? Maybe something that you agree with, maybe something that you disagree completely, something that you would like to contradict. So giving you a minute to read.
Can I add something?
Mm-hmm.
My idea was that it would be great to give the opportunity to write some essays or kind of letters after group lessons, because the children or even adults are very different, and some of them are too shy to speak out during the meeting, and they also want to share their opinion about something, and for them it can be the opportunity to do it. And it also helps if you have a lot of students at one time, for example, in an hour, and you can't hear each of them about the problem, so they can easily write about it, and you will know what they think about the matter, and they will be appreciated.
Okay, yeah, that could be a way. So I think you agree more with the first point, right? Because students are more involved, it's more collaborative, they can help each other. Yeah, in a group, it's more fun, definitely. I agree. Right. Anyone else? Okay. Well, no volunteers to speak up. Zamira, hello. Okay, maybe not Zamira. Who else would like to say something? Oops, scroll somewhere.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, just my microphone is not working properly. I think that I like point number three, because first of all, we don't spend time during the lesson writing an essay because we do it at home, and still we practice writing and we can speak and discuss it. It's, I think, very common practice. I used to do it at the university. So.
Who's speaking now? I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Sorry, it's Victoria.
Victoria, okay. How did your students know how to write an essay?
Certainly, I should give them some rules or show how to do this, explain first, and then give them to write an essay as homework or a review. They can do it, and at the next lesson we can discuss.
So they just saw a model, and then they just went home to write something similar.
Maybe, or it's a good question.
It's good to have a good question. Zamira is listening. Oh wow, from the airport. Where are you? It's interesting. Moscow. Okay, not very interesting. We were expecting something exotic. Right then. So, okay, no, didn't jump. So here I have more comments from you about what do your students have to write if you give some tasks that work with them, that they don't refuse. What do they write? So here let's combine the first and the third one because I have the same question to them. So some of your students write to revise grammar, just to write different sentences that you can check at the lesson. Some students make notes for speech preparation because then they think about what they want to say, how they want to say it, what vocabulary they need, what grammar. My question here is it writing for learning? It's not my term, it's Jeremy Hammer's. By the way, How to Teach Writing is a good book, not very big. I can recommend, I can actually share it in the chat if you need. So is it writing for learning or writing for writing if they do what is mentioned in point 1 and 3? Any ideas? Okay, Natalia, maybe you would like to say something?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, as far as I understand, writing for writing means like writing a poem, writing some piece of creative writing. That's what it is for me.
It could be not very creative. It could be as boring as some business email, but it's writing as a skill, not writing as a tool to practice conditionals, prepare for your speech and whatnot. So writing is a communicative skill. Yes.
Okay. Well, then in this case, it's writing for learning, because you revise this grammar material to learn it better.
Which is, well, which is not wrong, because writing is a good tool to consolidate some knowledge. But if we give such tasks, we should understand that they are not learning how to write. They are practicing grammar, they are practicing vocabulary, they are practicing whatever you taught, but they are not practicing writing. Right, another charming idea. Write a letter to Santa on behalf of his reindeer. How sweet is that, and how relevant is it for your students? Anyone? Maria, what do you think?
Well, why not? If we have kids or teenagers, or even if we have adult students, because this year I sent just usual letters from Santa to my students. So why not to ask them to write a letter to Santa? Yeah, maybe.
It could be fun. It could be fun. It could be entertaining for your students. So you should know your students well. If you have someone creative, someone who likes, to do something unusual, they might enjoy writing such a letter. But sometimes it's better to give something that they might use in their real life. Or maybe it's easier for them to write, maybe they want to complain, yes, that reindeers are overworked, underpaid, they don't have good living conditions, they don't get enough, I don't know, carrots or whatever they like. So it could be some, innovative way to practice writing letters of complaint. Maybe, practicing with this, with some light-hearted topic, it will be easier for them to write something serious. Why not? Or it could be a cover letter. So a new reindeer wants to join the team, right? And sends a cover letter with their CV. Why not? So if it works just, as some funny letter about something not serious or something that could potentially be useful to a student, it should be personalized. Yes, you should look at this and that student and see what works better for them. And it could be any letter, any idea. If you see that your student's eyes are sparkling, okay, then you guessed correctly. And the final one. Write about something they like. Of course, no one wants to write about something they hate, but on the other hand, why not? Usually people have a lot to say about something they hate. But still, about something that is interesting for them. Yes, let's put it this way. How does it usually work? Like Victoria gave us an example that she gave her students a task to write an essay at home, and then they discussed it at the lesson. Were the students learning how to write, or was this activity based on their current ability to write? What do you think, Victoria? Maybe you can start. Or Maria, who sent a letter to her student, and the student is expected to write something in reply. Again, is it based on the student's existing writing skills, or is it somehow developing some new skills?
Oh, this task, I guess, based on the current ability. And after it, if it will be successful, then we are going to practice something new. Maybe to check some kind of grammar, to try to add something, maybe some synonyms and so on.
Okay, yes, but for now, we just want to see what she can do. Well, another situation that Marina kindly shared with me yesterday, that her students like writing, and she mostly gives them creative tasks, like reports from their holiday. And it works. Even the laziest students, as she puts it, like sharing their impressions. They even share some photos. They also write some stories based on whatever they're practicing now in terms of grammar. And let's look here. I wouldn't say I teach them how to write. They just write what they would say, and there was a message which disappeared. So it works. The students write, they practice something, they practice something else, they have fun, but my questions are, in all these excellent situations, have your students been taught how to write, preferably by you, or are they just being tested how well they can write already? Having troubles with your microphone. So
Maybe I can add in. So this was my message, and yeah, listening to the previous discussion, I realized that it's basically writing for learning, which is not bad. Yeah, I do realize now that I actually am not sure what is meant by writing for writing, to be honest.
Well, I don't really remember where I saw it, but no, I wouldn't cite anyone, but it's also from some reliable source that not every lesson where some listening happens is a listening lesson, and not every lesson where students write something is a writing lesson. What do I mean? That writing as a tool is very productive. Yes, we can practice a lot of things with the help of writing, as we can practice a lot of things with the help of speaking. And if we say that my students speak 70% of the time, it doesn't mean that they practice speaking all this time. They could just, choose the correct verb form orally, and it won't be practicing speaking as a skill. It will be using speaking as a tool to practice grammar. The same is true about writing. It's great that your students can write reviews, reports, essays, poems, letters to mythological creatures and whatnot, but it would be really great if occasionally we would teach them how to do it. A lot of teachers said that speaking is more important than writing. I don't have the statistics. I would agree, of course, that we speak more than we write, but speaking and writing, they're quite different. I won't read the whole chart right now aloud. I will give you the link, you'll look at it by yourself. Of course, writing does prepare you for speaking because it gives you time to think about the context, to think about grammar, vocabulary, and so on. But they have different characteristics. Like speaking is dynamic, and you usually speak to a person you can see. You see their reaction, you can change something. Writing is more static, more conservative. You have to formulate the whole idea, then your reader can respond. For example, I don't remember who it was, but someone's students have a 100-day marathon in Skype, sharing messages. That's quite a dynamic writing, and we'll see further that speaking and writing are not always different. Sometimes they're quite similar. Okay, they can react, but still only after they see a message. So feedback is not immediate here. We have to construct all the sentences carefully. We're not allowed any false starts, as in speaking, any hesitation. Well, if you start writing like this, it's kind of wasting the paper or electronic symbols and so on. We use different devices to convey meaning. In speaking, we would use intonation. Now, with the development of all the internet communication, we can use different smileys, we can use capital letters and whatnot. So yes, they're both productive, but they're different. And if you have a fluent speaker as a student, it doesn't mean that they are as fluent in their writing, and vice versa. So sometimes writing and speaking are similar. So we can have writing like speaking. When we give presentations, we mostly prepare the speaking, have a lot of notes. If we give a lecture, again, it's very prepared, very formal. It basically sounds like writing read aloud, right? And we can have informal writing, those texts in the chat, informal emails to friends. It's more like speaking. And of course, we have formal writing, informal speaking, so they could be very different or they could be very similar. Question: how do they help develop each other? Any ideas? How is writing good for speaking and vice versa?
May I?
Sure.
Well, actually, I have noticed it, not on my students, but on myself, because I have been preparing for Cambridge exam. And actually, when I'm writing, when I write, I see my problems, some gaps in vocabulary better than when I'm speaking, because when I'm speaking, I don't know, everything latches on the vocabulary I have already, and I don't know, I speak automatically, and I feel no problems with speaking. But when I'm writing, very often, very often, when I'm trying to put it better, I kind of realize that there is so much to be learned. And I think it works with students, and sometimes they can realize their problems with grammar when they're writing, let's say, more clearly when they are speaking.
Right, because we can see it, yes, because when speaking is, what would be the word for it? It disappears immediately, right? If we manage to remember something that they said wrong, or we manage to write it down, then we can talk about it. They are writing, we can see clearly, and it's easier for us to analyze and to spot mistakes. A good point from Zamira, that there's more to writing than just grammar, vocabulary, and punctuation. Yes, there's always content, communicative achievement, like achieving a communicative goal, yes, organization, and so on. Good point. So there are three approaches. From now on, I'll be talking more because we're running out of time as usual. So process, product, and genre. Any ideas what these approaches could be about? Any guesses? Maybe you know something about the approaches. Any ideas? Anyone? Natalia, what do you think? The names are quite, self-explanatory.
Well, I don't know, to be honest. Well, maybe it's about, genre. It's, of course, our writing is, it depends on the genre we need. And formal, informal also.
Okay.
If it is about this, I'm not sure.
Okay, what about product?
Maybe it's the form, like an essay, or it's email product.
Okay, and process?
I have no idea. Sorry.
You students, have some anticipations every lesson. You show them some random guy and start asking, who do you think he is? Where does he work? Where does he live? How many children does he have? Well, okay, let's read the text about him. No, you don't want to do the same. That's not fair. So anything about the process approach? Product, we need results. Fair enough, right?
Sorry to interrupt you. I have an idea about process, actually. Maybe it's how we plan our writing. I mean, we can create a little plan with our students, what we're going to include in writing, like the introduction, developing, then the climax, and the conclusion, maybe. And on this, we can base the process. I actually don't have any idea.
Yeah, that's not a bad guess. Process, brainstorming, pieces of writing. Okay, yeah, we have a lot of good guesses now. Let me start my rant about writing. So, product approach is something that you see most often in course books because it's just easier to teach. When you have a model text and you analyze it, you ask your students to look at some elements, maybe to practice them separately and imitate this text and then adapt it and then create your own one. So you can attract their attention to different things. Maybe, if you have little children, you can point out like how the paragraphs are divided and capital letters and whatnot. Maybe grammar is important for this type of text. Maybe word choice. If it's a formal letter, then you need to choose formal words, and so on. Again, you will be able to read it in more detail. Now I'll just go over it quickly. So they read the text and the teacher highlights important features. Like, again, a formal letter of complaint. It's important to use paragraphs. It's important to use particular phrases to complain, but to do it politely. If it's a story, how to start, how to finish, how to attract the reader's attention, and so on. Then there's controlled practice of some features that could be important or potentially difficult for the student, like here are informal expressions, replace them with the formal ones. Here are some paragraphs of the story, put them in logical order. Organization of ideas. We have different paragraphs in our text. What is the purpose of each paragraph? Why are they in this order? So if it's a letter, we start with some formal greeting, then we state the purpose. I'm writing to complain about this and that. Then we can suggest some measures to solve the problem, and then there's a sign-off and so on. And then using all this, so your students have a structure. If it's a low level, it could be filled with some sentence frames. There could be a list of vocabulary. And when they have all this, it's easy for them to do a similar task. It's easy for them to write a similar letter of complaint, let's say. So they use everything that you've taught separately in isolation. Now they just put this puzzle together. Process. Like we said, it's about brainstorming, really, generating ideas, planning, drafting, redrafting, editing, and it all goes in circles. As much time as you have, you can use for this process approach. It's mostly about the creativity, unpredictability. You can start writing and then you can have a new idea and you want to change something, and that's fine. You just should know how to do it. So first, of course, it's more suitable for something like a report from your holiday, yes, not a formal complaint. Generate ideas, brainstorm, maybe answer some questions, take notes, look at some pictures, make a plan, maybe some role play to start talking about it and having more ideas. Then it's good to have some draft, and students are quite often afraid of quick writing. They want to do it perfectly from the very beginning, but we know that if it's creative writing, it's hardly ever perfect from the very beginning. So they should be able to write quickly, just jot down some ideas, and then we can see if this text is really what we expected, if it's clear what the writer wants to say, how are the ideas organized. Maybe the vocabulary is not well chosen. Maybe there's something else. And we can respond to this text because, well, this is the only thing that your student can use is your feedback. If you work with groups, maybe you have some offline students, this is something that they can do in pairs or mini groups. They can brainstorm together. They can make a plan for each other or make their own plans and then share and discuss. So even this pre-writing stage could be some, combined with speaking and help them to collect ideas. Then they evaluate and revise together. They look at each other's works and suggest something. And it's not only about correcting mistakes, grammar and vocabulary and so on. It's also about how to organize it better, how to add maybe some details, maybe something is not described clearly enough and so on. And then they take into account all the feedback and make a second draft. If it's necessary, there could be a third draft. If you work with exam preparation students, this is a good way to teach them how to write essays. So they write whatever they can, you give suggestions, they change it. Maybe they need a third draft. They won't mind because, they want to learn how to write good essays eventually. Ideally, the text should be read by someone else, not just the teacher, because, well, we always write for something, for someone in real life. I mean, unless it's our private journal, we write it for some readers. So they should keep this reader in mind, and it's good if more people can read it. If you organize some Skype chats with your students, that could be another way to get some feedback from many readers and eventually improve your writing. So you can also encourage them to share some products of their process writing. And genre approach. Here, three things are important for us. Field or the subject, what are we writing about, and what are the goals of this text. If I'm writing a cover letter, I'm writing about myself as a professional, and my term is to get my CV to be read. Who is taking part in this process? Then is the second part, it's like participants. So me and some HR manager who will be reading my letter. My goal is to persuade them, to attract their attention. I don't know them, so we have zero relationship, but I want to interest them. So genre approach is all about the reader and achieving your goal, your communicative purpose. And it dictates the mode, like how do I write? How is the language organized? I need to use some strong words to describe my professional skills, to attract the reader's attention, to make them want to read more, to make them want to look at my CV, to invite me to the interview, and so on. And so I need a persuasive text for that. How do we go about that? It will be similar to a product approach, yes, but here the focus is different. So we look at the examples of the genre, like you can show 5 different cover letters. And ask your student, who do you think got the interview? Who was invited? Whose letter was successful? Maybe number 1 and number 4. Why? Let's analyze. Because here we can see that it's more persuasive, or the text is better organized, or letter number 2 and 5, they were very informal, and if you're writing to a stranger who can influence your professional development, it's not very appropriate, and so on. So you analyze the successful examples and maybe learn something from the unsuccessful ones. Then you can try producing partial texts, like how to write a good first paragraph, how to write about being available at what time, and so on. And then you construct the whole cover letter. That's just an example, of course. Genre approach could be used in different spheres, different genres. So the difference between this one and the product approach, because here it's mostly about authenticity in the text. So you write something that people really write in such situations in the real world. communication, communicative purpose. So write not just a letter that has formal vocabulary and 3 paragraphs and something else, but something that will really achieve the aim to interest the HR manager and to move you to the next step. And what is the effect on the target reader? We always think about the reader here. What will they think? Will they like it or not? And why? What can we do to make them like your writing? So, again, some examples of what you do with your students. Let's see which approach do you think could suit them. The first one. A reply to a letter of complaint. What can we use for that? Anyone?
I think genre, because we have the reader, we focus on the owner of the restaurant to solve our problem, to do something with our complaint.
Yeah, that could be suitable. Product approach would work well. Well, theoretically, we can use the process approach, but I think it would be not very efficient here. Okay, movie reviews, book reviews. Product is about the first or the second one, maybe the second one. Oops. Well, where did I go? So, reviews. What would be good for reviews? Product and process and genre, well, depends on what exactly we want to improve in our students' writing. We can use any of them. We can focus on being more creative because there's no strict form of a book review. But on the other hand, if your student wants to really leave some review at some website, maybe there's a more or less conventional way to do it, that something should be included and no spoilers should be included. Maybe the genre approach could be better here. Okay, their recent experience, like trips, those holiday reports, what would be good for them?
Process.
Right. Process seems to be very suitable here. Jokes, short stories. Maybe also process, right, as Lisa says. But maybe the genre approach could be good here because jokes should be funny. If a joke is not funny, then you didn't achieve your communicative purpose. So maybe we should look at some good jokes and maybe some not very funny jokes and try to understand what makes the funny jokes really funny and try to put it in our writing. Something that they need at the moment, like an email, a cover letter, something for work. What could it be?
I think both equally. Oh.
Yeah. Can you repeat that? I didn't quite catch.
Me?
Yeah, who was speaking?
I said both equally.
Both, but we have 3.
Yes, the result is important, and well, the process is also.
There could be a genre or product, maybe the process, because we want them to draft and redraft some emails sometimes, because some people are not used to writing at all, and then suddenly they have to write and they need some help in the process. Well, how to choose the best approach? What does it depend on? If you want to write something with your students, how do you choose in which way you're going to teach them?
We should start with the goal, what we write for.
For example?
Well, if it is a cover letter, then we focus on the reader, perhaps, and we choose the genre approach. So we choose the formal, and therefore we choose the vocabulary, structures to the person we don't know.
Right, it depends on what exactly they need to write, and also Lisa wrote about skills. Yes, what skills do you think they need to practice? Because if your students say, I don't know what to write, I have no ideas, maybe they need some help with the process, how to generate those ideas, even if they have to write something formal and something that for other person, the product approach would work better, but for this student, it's best to focus on the process. Can we combine approaches?
I think yes.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? So it could be product process, process genre. Well, genre product, they're kind of similar, but maybe for low-level students when they need just a lot of scaffolding, that could be good to work on the genre, but with a lot of sentence frames and some vocabulary for them to use. You know, we can combine any approaches. What if they hate writing anyway? You have planned your lesson perfectly, you have the best ideas, but they're just, oh, writing, no.
I think it's okay. Someone hates writing, maybe it's not time yet. Because, well, somewhere I've read a recommendation that it's better to learn a language like ears first, by ears first. So it's okay, it's more natural. And in a while, when this person is capable of speaking, then he or she would want to tackle writing. So it's natural and it's okay, rather than forcing this on some person.
Well, yes, but as Elisa says, if she's in her 40s, it will never be the time.
But maybe she will never need it. As, for example, even in Russian, I don't remember the last time when I had to write something. I really don't remember. So maybe it's okay?
Maybe, but still, well, if you have to write something, I'm sure you're able to do it, right? And ideally, so should be our students. I would say that I hate doing something that I know that I cannot do well. You know, and why is it so that I'm not able to do some things well? Maybe because I didn't have enough experience. Maybe because I had some negative experience. Maybe because I was never taught how to do it properly. Now that my children go to the American schools, to different ones, I can see that here they pay more attention to writing and they teach children how to write. We were not taught how to write in our schools, right? So we just had some topic, and what did we do? Mostly copied some ideas from other books, maybe rephrasing them a bit. But no one told us how to develop your thought. Where's your topical sentence? You only learn it if you start preparing for some international exams, right? How to link your ideas logically. How to make sure that you are talking about the same thing throughout the paragraph. How to make it easy for the reader to follow your ideas. Were you taught that when you were at school? In your native language, I mean. I wasn't. No, Lisa wasn't as well.
The funny thing that really, it is so, we are not taught this in our native language.
Right.
I can remember something like this at English classes, but not in Russian or Ukrainian. I'm from Ukraine.
Yeah.
So, nothing.
Nothing. We were not taught how to do it. It was supposed to, come naturally. And sometimes teachers say that, oh, my students don't know what to say even in Russian or even in their first language when I ask them to speak about some topic. Again, we were not taught how to speak. I mean, how to develop some ideas, how to give some arguments. And here they have those debate clubs, and they have such school subjects as, I don't even remember see it right now, but my daughter got this list of subjects for the high school for the next year. And there are at least 3 subjects that they can choose. Well, it's not that everyone will study it, but if you want, you can learn something about speaking, about presentations, about developing some speaking skills. Even, it's for native speakers. It's not for English language learning. So they do it. You have a chance to learn if you're interested, but we didn't have that. So we don't know how to write in our native language. I remember that when I entered the university, I was looking forward to someone teaching me how to write essays, because at school, well, I could write, but I was never taught. And I thought that maybe now, as I'm a future teacher, they will show me how to do it properly. But no. And I even asked the teacher, when are we going to learn by ourselves how to write properly? And they said, what are you talking about? Just write. You read the book, write about it. So I think that's the main problem. That we
may I add something? I wanted to add one thing that, well, when I started writing essays, for me, it was very difficult to put up with this structure, because well, maybe at school I was good at free writing, and in English when I practice free writing it's also quite easy, but the structure of essays, and also it seems to me that English articles are more well structured than Russian articles. So it's the problem of our mentality. So in Russian it's okay to be more spontaneous in writing, and in English it's not so good to be spontaneous, so it should be well structured. That is the problem. And I think it's not only me who's like this, and because some other students also told me about that.
Oh, absolutely. We're all in the same boat here. Okay, so let me sum it up. We should demonstrate them what the writing is made of. Whatever you write, there are some features that are important, some layout, language features, how to edit what you wrote, because sometimes they write what we consider the first draft, and they don't know. It doesn't even occur to them that they can work with it, they can improve it. They have never thought about that. They can actually edit their own work before giving it to the reader. Yes, that would be you most in most cases. You should motivate and provoke them, because yes, they have this limited belief. By the way, we had long ago we had a webinar about limited beliefs. It was Lifetime 5 or 6, if I'm not mistaken. And the fact, not the fact, but the opinion that writing is horrible is one of the limited beliefs. If you want to get some ideas, you might find it somewhere and listen to the recording. So if we show them that it could be potentially useful, so now you're writing to Santa, but you can write the same to, some other people. If it's fun, if they see that it's important, so either fun or the importance might motivate them to write. You should support them. Writing is hard for them because, well, they don't really know how to do it, and they have a lot of, blocks that prevent them from just relaxing and having fun while writing. So you should help them. Sometimes you should just, nudge them a little bit, like push them forward, push them a bit out of their comfort zone. And as someone said in the chat, maybe we should start with something short, like 3-5 sentences, but to show that writing is not that horrible. you should respond, and not only by grading their work, not only by highlighting all the grammar mistakes. So you can notice something good, or something that, well, it's not grammar, it's not vocabulary, but it can be changed. Maybe something is not very logical. Maybe it's better to change the order of the paragraph to something else, or just ask some questions how to make the end result better by thinking about what they're writing. Yes, so react to their writing, and of course we need to evaluate because they expect it from us. But here, evaluation is not just correcting their errors. We can show what they can do, what was good, that it was interesting to read about their holiday. It was very like they did a good job when they were writing about this event, and you were expecting something, but then it turned out to be otherwise. So they are good at creating some suspense and keep the reader interested. Yes, point out such things, because again, it's something that they're not used to. If all of us actually, right, when we wrote something at school, what did we see? Red pen, grammar corrections, and if it's a literature essay, then you could get a mark for like your ideas, or whatever it was called, yes, for the content, but you never knew why you got that mark, why you got a 5 or a 4. It was always a mystery. It was never explained. And here you can show what they can do well, and it's more motivating than highlighting all the grammar mistakes. Okay, so this is all I have to say. If you have any questions, please leave them in the chat because I have to go. So thank you all. I would also like to see some feedback. How interesting, useful was it for you? Maybe you would like to know more about writing. Maybe you would like something else to read about it. Maybe see some examples of how to work with writing. Okay, so whatever you have to say or to ask, please leave in the chat because I have someone waiting for me already and sending messages on Skype. So again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to work with you today. Thank you for all the examples, sharing your experience. So enjoy your teaching. Help your students enjoy their writing, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.